Last week, I had traveled to Grand Haven, Michigan, flew to GRR, and I went to Matt Wilber's conference, the Growth and Scale Conference, Gym Business Mastery. And it was a 3-day event. And I know some of you have been out to different events. You've gotten a lot from them. The networking you've done has been done is amazing. And some of them aren't so great too, all these other businesses. So there was a lot of them there. They weren't all that, of course. We had PT and semi-private and online coaching, just like anything. But I was very impressed with Matt's, and I was super surprised at just how congruent they are and complementary our things are.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And he saw it too, and he's just like, we got to do the next event together.
Nice.
Welcome to the Profit Lifestyle for Fitness Entrepreneurs podcast. My name is Scott Carpenter. I am a personal trainer turned multiple gym owner and investor who's already been through the rock bottom and near bankruptcy in the fitness business. But I've been lucky enough to come out the other side and have turned the profits of my fitness business into indestructible wealth. I'll be sharing the no bullshit strategies, tactics, and advice to win big in business and in life. So if you're a gym owner, a personal trainer, or an online coach who wants to make multiple six figures in take-home profit and have the freedom with your time to actually enjoy it, subscribe now to this podcast. This is the show for you. All right, welcome back to the Profit Lifestyle for Fitness Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Scott Carpenter, joined by my awesome co-host, Andy Boimila. And today we're going to do a tell-all. So last week I had traveled to Grand Haven, Michigan, flew to GRR, and I went to Matt Wilber's conference, the Growth and Scale Conference, Gym Business Mastery. And it was a 3-day event. And I know some of you have been out to different events. You've gotten a lot from them. The networking you've done has been done is amazing. And some of them aren't so great too. So I figured I would kind of report to you guys and give my tell-all about what I thought of it, what I learned from it, all that good stuff. So yeah, Andy, you couldn't make it on that one. I was excited, but
no, I couldn't make it, which was a little disappointing, but I'm really excited to kind of just sit here and listen to everything that you experienced over the weekend. I know you did 2 presentations that we kind of worked on, so I'm excited to hear how those went. And also, like, I'm not really super familiar with Matt Wilber, or I know there were a couple other people there. I believe a guy from Coach Catalyst and Aaron Nash were there. And I only know them through name at most.
Right.
I don't know a ton about them. So I'm super excited to actually just hear everything that you did over the weekend and learn a little bit more about these guys. And yeah, just kind of settle in and let you take the show on this one.
One of the big things is like, I like to get out there to different events, to meet different people, to meet different business coaches. One reason that we're so good is because there's no ego in what you and I do teaching these other gym owners.
No.
Right? I don't care where I learn something, and I will give credit where it's due. The bottom line is I want to win with my gyms, and I want you, the listeners, to win with your gyms or online businesses.
Well, that's the whole point of all of this, is for us to take the best practices, figure out what works, and then share it with everybody else. That's why we're here.
Absolutely. And so I'm entrenched in different businesses and masterminds and events to learn the best of everything and combine it. Because you know what? Some people excel with a large group model. Some people excel with this. Some people excel with that. And at the end of the day, I'm like, give it all. And that way, give it all to me. That way, whether we're working with somebody who's a private, a semi-private model, a small group, a large group, whatever it is, right? We can share the best practice of what works and what doesn't work. And a lot of the guys out there are kind of one-trick ponies, that they teach. And hey, some of those ponies stopped working a few years ago, but they are doubling, tripling, quadrupling down.
They're still pushing that pony though.
Yes, they are. They're milking it. And unfortunately, it's killing gyms quite often, to be frank. Right? So anyways, like, I love doing this stuff. And I didn't know Matt Wilber a whole ton either. He had been following my stuff on High Ticket for quite a while, and also on the Profit Lifestyle, like what to do with the profits of your gym to start turning that into indestructible wealth. So you just don't have to worry about money. You're generating passive income with your profits. So you can really relax a little bit, which is very hard for entrepreneurs to do.
Yes.
And so he'd been following me for a bit, and then we connected. He's like, hey, I'm putting on this 3-day event. I've been watching your stuff. I've been loving it. Let's chat and see if you'd be a good fit for presenting here. And so this was 3 full days. It was workshop style. It was workshop style where it's not just day 1, you're getting up and listening to 8 speakers, and day 2, 8 speakers, and day 3, 8 speakers. You get a bunch of, you get 40 pages of notes, and you go back to you go back to your gym on Monday and you don't get to implement anything. So what was neat is we got to really go in depth about these topics and learn like the exact strategies and tactics on how to apply it into your specific gym.
That's really interesting, right? That whole workshop kind of format, because trust me, I've been to so many different conferences where at the end of day one, I've got a notebook full of notes. My head is spinning and I'm like, I don't even know where to start. Never mind day two. And then you get back to your gym and you're like, I am so burnt out from the weekend. I need a vacation from my conference and I don't even know what kind of action items to take. So that's really cool that Matt decided to go with like a workshop little scenario, little format, so that you can take actionable items moving forward. And that's definitely something I think more people should do.
It was fantastic. So I was blown away by this because it's same thing. You go to all these things, you listen to 14 different people and you don't even know where to start. So it was really neat to do. And I had 2 segments. So I had like 2 3 to 3.5 hour segments. One, I talked about high ticket, which if you guys don't know, I have redone the entire high ticket launch and strategy. Like every single video, every single resource, it is tight and it is dialed.
It's
and
so
I can't
good.
say, it really is. And I mean, not that I'm tooting my own horn, but like, holy shit, it's awesome.
No, it's okay. You can toot your own horn, Scott. Like I saw the original, I saw how you redid this one, and it is a vast improvement. 2.0 is much better than the first one. It's cleaner, it's tighter, and it's much more actionable, which is great. So it was a good product before, and it's even better now.
Yeah. And, I wanted to jump in too, just to fine tune it. So even I worked with a couple gym owners to bolt this into their business and everything like that. And I got like George and G and updates. So they're only 2 weeks into it and they did a 5K sale, a $3,500 sale. And then I hopped on with them yesterday and they did another, I can't remember, but it's $12,400. And now we're going to start the official launch, which is really cool.
So 12,400 before the official launch.
Right.
I'd say that was a pretty good investment on their part.
250% ROI in like 14 days ain't bad.
No,
right?
Not at all.
Before we even really get to the nitty gritty. So like, I'm super excited. Like, yes, this has been stripped down to the essentials and exactly, it's fantastic. I love it. But anyways, I got validation on how good it was because I ran through a good amount of that at this conference and it just knocked people's socks on their asses. It was so much fun because then I get to eat lunch with everybody and I get to go out to dinner with them and hear their feedback. It's fantastic. And then the other one I spoke on was, turning the profits of your business into indestructible wealth and how to do that, how to get access to line of credit. We're going to do a podcast on the next episode for that as well.
Yep.
But yeah, guys, it was awesome. It was just an amazing group of people. A lot of them came because Matt Wilber, so I didn't know tons about him either, but man, was I impressed. This guy knows his stuff. And it's funny because a lot of what we teach and what he teaches, it's kind of 2 sides of the same coin, which is really neat. We're talking like the underlying philosophies behind these business strategies and, even the language that we talk about on how to interact with a member differently than anybody else. And the wordage that we use, in the discovery portion and in this and peeling back the layers of the onion, I don't think it quite said that, but like getting to the pain and selling the vacation, not the flights. Like we're so lockstep. As he was giving his presentation, I'm like, Matt, this is going to be eerie. How similar we're our philosophies are, but he's really driving and focusing on bringing volume, lower ticket volume into the gym. And we're really specializing in the mid and high ticket, how to get way more from the average person. And it's kind of cool because these 2 things combined, it's like 2 sides of the same coin, completely compatible. And it's pretty awesome. Like, we're going to bolt high ticket into his multiple gyms. Very easy to do. He's got a unique thing where he sells really from a free trial, not bait and switch free, but free. But he's so dialed in the delivery that he converts it at a high percentage. And a unique thing that he does is he's always selling the next program outside of exercise like we do. The other 165 hours in the week, right? On the nutrition side, on the other side. He takes it 12 weeks at a time and constantly sells them to the next one. And so he's got his EFT membership, right?
Yep.
And then every 12 weeks, they sit down and they get them in the next 12-week mid-ticket program.
Okay, so he's
So
basically upselling his current clients into what we
yes,
would do as mid-ticket or high ticket
exactly.
from the
He's just
get-go.
bolting it on to the back end. Well, kind of like mid-end in a way, right?
Yeah, right.
At the trial conversion, bam, you go. And then every 12 weeks. And so he's got amazing retention too by doing this. And it's so easy for him because we were talking about how he needs a built-in high ticket. It's great. He's already sitting down with these guys every 90 days. Well, his staff is, and selling them into the next mid-ticket program.
Right.
Well, great. Now we have a high ticket program that just includes a one-on-one mentorship call. That's it. You know what I mean? And so his is going to be very easy to bolt in, but it's really neat to see. And he came from the Fit Body Bootcamp world. So Fit Body Bootcamp, he was the guy that they use as a success story to sell their franchises. He just did really well, opened up multiple locations. He was the VP, I think it was of their product and something, I can't quite remember the exact title, for a while. And then he eventually de-licensed from Fit Body because
Okay, so he's not part of the franchise anymore?
correct.
Okay.
And
Cool.
so he did that and rebranded all his gyms. It wasn't necessarily bad blood, but there's restrictions when it comes to franchises, what you can and can't do.
Of course, that's part of your FDA, like your franchise disclosure agreement.
Yeah.
There are certain things you can and cannot do. And when you have a franchise, you are basically, your hands are bound by what corporate will allow you to do.
Yeah. Yep. And so he's just like, hey, they're not innovating fast enough, and I've got to do this. Now, some of their stuff is still good. They're struggling in certain respects in Fit Body Bootcamp, right? They're opening up, and we've worked with several Fit Body Bootcamps to help them do semi-private as well, to help them do higher ticket programs like Kai. Kai and Des were there. They've worked with us, right? And they do between $20,000 and $25,000 a month in high ticket sales.
Nice.
It's crazy. They do that on top of all their low and mid ticket stuff, which is really neat. So, it's 20 to 25K of the high and the mid. And then they've got, right? So, yeah, this has worked for a lot of Fit Body. So they've relaxed that because some people are like, hey, am I actually allowed to do this? I'm like, well, I've had Bryce, the CEO, on the podcast, and they're experimenting with a lot of that. We're in touch on this, and we've helped several people do it. And that's, with some of them, that's the only thing that's keeping them in the game. So the cool thing is they are innovating. They know they need to modify and adapt and everything. So that's neat. But it was cool then because, yeah, we get to reach out and help all these other businesses. So there was a lot of them there. They weren't all that, of course. We had PT and semi-private and online coaching, just like anything. But I was very impressed with Matt's, and I was super surprised at just how congruent they are and complementary our things are.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. And he saw it too. And he's just like, we got to do the next event together.
Nice.
And so I think that's what we'll do. Andy, like, let's take a look at later on this year. We're thinking Scottsdale, Arizona would be a great place to do it. We'll do it maybe in the fall as it starts cooling down here. And we'll do it together because it's pretty awesome. So I was very impressed with him, and he's just an all around amazing guy. We got to share all our horror stories and all our mistakes with staff and hiring and you name it.
I think, honestly, that is, like, you and I chat a lot, right? We've got the podcast. We speak, every single week about PTL and a bunch of other stuff. But, I think one of the coolest things with being gym owners is the ability to get together and share stories and just, I don't want to say commiserate, because it's not about like just talking about the bad things. We do talk about it a lot. But just the fact that somebody else in this world you can sit down across from and share a story, and they understand, they have that empathy, and that's part of one of the reasons why we even have PTL in general, and just like the mentorship group that we have, because it's so lonely at the top sometimes. And having in-person events and having cohorts that you're a part of or groups that you're a part of makes it less lonely.
Yep. And hey, when you're winning and on top and everything's going great, cool. Not that big of a deal, but yeah, I mean, I think over the last 5 years, we've gone through some shit, right? With COVID and then Meta ads just completely shitting the bed. We've all been through it. And I have been at a nice edge from losing everything, at a couple points in time. And it's cool to be able to share those stories of these giant mistakes, because some people don't want to do that. Some people just want to tell you about how awesome they are and how flawless they are and how their system, right, is the greatest system on the planet and just works for everybody, which is just not the truth.
It's not.
And
There is no one size fits all.
No, no, absolutely not. And so it was really neat to be able to share that kind of stuff. And like, we're both pretty humble. In fact, like, hey, let's get up on stage and share with you our worst disasters and worst mistakes, so that you don't make those same damn mistakes, right? Unless if you're going through a rough spot right now, that's okay. We all have. Yeah. We all have.
And now, there were a couple other speakers there too, right?
Yeah, yeah. So who else was there? So Aaron Nash, who I'd not met before. But what was cool is that, I run a super simple business. So for me, we don't deal with high volume either. So for me, like selling supplements, we can do it, right? But everything comes at an opportunity cost, right? It's just the time, and does it take away from the 20% that gives you 90, 95% of your results? But he's got volume-based gyms, and supplements is something that's, you're like, oh, let's carry our own line of supplements or whatever it is. And it sounds great, but most people, for all the work, don't make a lot of extra money.
No.
They got to invest in inventory, and then some of it leaves and this and that, and the margins can be thin. But he was one that really laid out how to do it right. And I thought it was very clever. Very clever. Less is more kind of thing, fewer SKUs, and here's how you do it. So I found that fascinating. I thought it was great. I'm not going to do it in my gyms because I don't have that kind of volume to really make it worthwhile, right?
Yeah.
I'd rather just sell, but it's very viable for people, and you always hear, well, people, however the size of that supplement community is, they're going to buy from somewhere, might as well be you.
Right.
Okay. But what's even bigger than that? Food. 100% of people eat food. Right. True. And so that's why we sell the meals as part of an executive program and make a huge amount of money on it. So, but he did it. He taught a strategy that's better than I've ever seen. It's fantastic. It's ethical. It's everything. Trevor Whitwer with Coach Catalyst, the co-founder, CEO of Coach Catalyst, was there. He's great as well. He's got 3 gyms, so he knows the business. And yeah, he's got some great insights and everything too. I always learn a little bit from him as well.
For anybody that's listening that doesn't know, what is Coach Catalyst? Coach
Catalyst is, it's like a Trainerize in a way, right?
Okay, software, so it's online software.
Yep, online software. You can white label it, like where you get your own app too. And it's one of the best ones for habit-based coaching.
Oh, okay.
Which is why I like it, because that's really what we teach a lot on how to do these high-ticket programs. So, yeah, and he's just an all-around good guy as well. Very knowledgeable, been in the business for a long time. Who else was there? Who else spoke? Oh, one of our guys, Kai.
Yep.
Kai spoke there to give some updates on, he's a doctor. He owns a gym and now has a med spa next door. It's pretty cool. We worked on getting him an acquisition of a recovery place too. So he's got these 3 businesses kind of feeding each other, which is really neat. He's based out of College Station, Texas. And so he was updating everybody on GLP-1 drugs, how they work, what the industry is kind of doing and changing. There's been some laws recently where there's a shortage of GLP-1s because, it's originally to help diabetics and all that kind of stuff. Well, a side effect is extreme weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like, cool, we got the magic pill. Let's everybody sell this. So there's a shortage. And so they allowed like the compounding pharmacies to also create this to fill the gap on that shortage, because the people who really needed it couldn't get it, right? Because everybody wants to be, follow the Hollywood diet stuff, right? So, so that happened. Now that's ending. So you're going to see the prices really go back up unless there's some changes going on. So he got us up to date what's going on in that one. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was a really good guy. He ended up selling his gyms. He had like 8 of them in Northwestern United States. He sold them. He's moving on to doing sales stuff. But it was a great event. It's, everybody really had, I had 6-7 hours up there. Matt had a bunch. And the others had quite a bit. So workshop style was fantastic. And Yeah, I think we're gonna run an event with him just because these are two sides of the same coin.
I think it's a great idea. I'm excited to connect with Matt and get an event going. But my question to you, Scott, so you did 2 3.5 hour presentations. How are you doing? Like, I've presented for an hour and I know how exhausting that is, but 3.5 hours of a workshop scenario, that's a lot, man.
It is, but I thrive off of it. I love it.
Good.
Because I really strive to create that open environment. And like, I'm not just going to teach it when I want to make it entertaining. And so if you know the new high ticket launch, I'm always like, they're like little digestible 15 to 20 minute videos. I'm providing value, but I'm being entertaining. And I'm also demonstrating how this has worked for different types of gym owners and business owners. So, because you need to believe and see the results. Otherwise, you just don't take action. Right. So I'm always.
It's weird. It's kind of like what we tell our clients.
Kind of what we tell our clients.
Kind of.
And we were just talking about that last week. It's funny because sometimes you can give, you give advice to business owners and it's just like the advice they give to their clients. And it's
we
like,
are
well,
awful
did you do the work?
Our own advice. Yeah. And
right?
We're awful at taking our own advice.
Yes, absolutely. And we can laugh at that, because we all do it to some extent.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But it's great when he gets called out and you're like, oh, you're right. I'm the fat client that won't change one thing about his nutrition. Yep. Got it. You know what I mean? We all do it. So you need somebody to call you out on it. But no, it was a blast. I come alive when I get to meet people in person or even over Zoom. But like, I love teaching and educating and then taking the questions and we work it out together. And I love questions because when one person says one, 80 to 90% of the crowd had that same question. They just didn't want to ask it, or they didn't know to ask it. But everybody's getting value when we do these questions and Q&As.
I love, actually, it's funny that you say that. I love telling my new coaches the same exact thing. I'm like, listen, if you have a question, ask the question. Never be afraid to ask questions, because if you have that question, I guarantee you somebody else on the team also has that question. And so by you asking, we get to answer it, we get to talk about it, and everyone gets to benefit from it. And the expression I always like to say, even talking to new clients, is like, there's no such thing as a stupid question, only stupid people who don't ask questions.
Yep. And so everybody benefits in a group like that, which is awesome. And I just I get full permission to be myself up there for all my humor, whether you like it or not. But it's just fun. So there's energy in there as opposed to, oh my God, how long is, looking at the clock, how long is this guy going to be on stage for?
Yeah.
Not my style. Not my style. I'm just raw with it. Won't bullshit you. So I love that kind of stuff. I get a lot of energy from it, even though I'm up there for 3.5 hours at a time.
Well, thank you so much for the breakdown. I'm sad that I missed the event. I'm super glad you did it, because now we've got that connection with Matt. We'll definitely do an event with him. So all of you guys that are listening to this, definitely keep your ears peeled from when we do an event with Matt, because it's just going to be, from what Scott makes it sound like, it's going to be a wild event, and I'm super excited to help put that on. So
yeah. So stay tuned, guys. We're probably going to bring it to Arizona. You want to fly in here. We got a great airport, and usually everybody wants to come to Scottsdale, Arizona. So we'll get stuff over the next few weeks. We're going to figure it out and hopefully get some dates on the calendar. And should be an amazing event. We'll get some details to you. So guys, thanks a lot for tuning into this episode. If you got value out of it, make sure to subscribe, share it, whatever you do. And be on the lookout. You'll probably see, if you're not on our email list, get on our email list. We'll get you the information on those tickets and everything. So whenever we do it. But I'm thinking this fall would be a fantastic time.
We got time. We can do it this fall. We'll
awesome. Make it happen. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. We will see you next episode.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Listen, if you're stuck and could use some advice in your business, whether you're just starting out, a veteran in the business, or expanding online or into multiple locations, you can hop on a free call with us to pick our brains at ptlegends.com/one-on-one call. You can see that in the show notes. That is with numbers. Chances are we'll be able to help you get some clarity on what you need to do specifically in your business to get to the next level. It's not a sales call. We'll connect you with the right resources to help you solve your problems. But if you want to learn more about working with us, that's cool too. We can share that information should you want it. So book your call now to get out of the rat race before your week consumes you, which is easy to do, at ptlegends.com/one-on-one call. That's with the number 1 on the number 1 call. You can find this in the show notes. See you soon.